times I've been hit in the head.
I'm Judy Thompson, counselor with the House of Grace. Susan, would you like to share your story with us?
Sure. I'll start when I came over here. My family immigrated over here in 1961 from England, and it was okay for a while, but it was definitely not cool to be from a foreign country in small town USA in 1961. Not only did you have the prejudice and the bigotry against African Americans, but also against people that wasn't like them. You know, people, if they couldn't figure out who we were, they'd say, "Who's your daddy?" You know, they didn't know who my daddy was because he just got here too. But I was surprised at the teachers at our school. It was Bolivar, Tennessee, and I was amazed at how some of them treated me and my other sister. It was very biased, and I had one teacher in particular that she would make me talk in front of the class all the time because they would always make fun of my English accent.
So you came to a new place, having to start over.
Yeah, I was 12.
12 years old.
12 years old. And they put me in the 8th grade. I should have been in the 7th. But they gave me a test, and they said I should be, you know, I was functioning on a 12-and-a-half-year-old level, so they put me in the 8th grade. And it was relatively okay, except for one instance, you know, that I told you about earlier, about the debate team. Do you want me to tell about that?
But if you feel like that's an example.
Well, yeah, it was, I was walking home from school because I didn't get along well with my dad, and we lived a pretty good place from the school, so I would walk home. And I remember there was this elderly black gentleman walking down the sidewalk. The sidewalk was real narrow, and I had always been raised to respect my elders. And I was going to step off the sidewalk for him, but he stepped off for me, and I thought, that's kind of odd. I was probably about 13, 14 at that time. And so when I walked past him, I spoke to him, and I noticed he just kind of dropped his head. And I thought, well, it must be the way they are over here, you know, the way they've been put down so much. I thought he probably doesn't feel comfortable talking to me. So I mentioned it to some of my classmates, and I thought, you know, who am I that somebody should step off a sidewalk for me? I was a kid, you know. And, well, they ran and told Mr. Jacobs, who was our English teacher, most bigoted person I have ever met in my life. Next thing I know, I'm on a debate team for African Americans, and he put me on another team that I was up against the high school football captain and all of his cronies. And of course, he picked who was going to be on my team, and they did not like me for that. I mean, I was.
So you were stigmatized
for
what you believed.
Yeah, and I got kicked, spit on, called N-lover, and everything else, and I thought, my goodness, where have we come to, you know? Well, as time went by, we had some changes in our family. I won't go into all that because it involves another family member, and she might not appreciate me talking about it. But she subsequently got married and left home, and my dad was so mad, he took all his anger out on me. He started hitting on me. I mean, physically, you know, hitting me. And he would get mad, and he'd just hit me upside the head with his fist for no reason. And it went on for a long time. And I tried to kill myself twice when I was in school. And one time I was going to jump off a fire tower, and I was afraid of heights. How pitiful is that? I got so far up, and I thought, well, if I jump, I'm going to mess myself up, and I'll be in worse shape now than what I was, you know, before I wanted to jump. And then I took a whole bunch of aspirin one time, and
well, you didn't see a way out.
No, because I was going to school with broken teeth, black eyes, bruises, and not one teacher asked me, what's wrong, what's happened, how did that happen, are you okay, nothing like that. So I felt not only could I not go to home, I couldn't talk to anybody at school. And I guess back then, you know, it's like your kids were like your dog. You could do anything you wanted to. That wasn't anybody's business, you know. But I kept feeling, and my dad was one of those type of people that he would encourage you to talk to him, and then if you ever did talk to him, he'd spend the rest of the day telling you why you were wrong. So what does that teach a child? It teaches a child to stuff their feelings, you know, you don't have a right to any feelings. You learn to hold everything in. So what I did was what most kids would do. I got mad. And I got really, really angry. I hated everything and I hated everybody, because it's like everything I ever believed in had just crumbled. And my mom was starting to get, she knocked me down one day and kicked me because somebody that they worked with had told them that they saw me going someplace that I shouldn't have been, and that was not true. I was in that area, but I was walking with a girl from school, and her boyfriend worked down there, and she wanted to go down there, and I said, well, I can't go down there. I said, you can go, but I'll stay here. And they saw me just walk just inside this little road. And I got home, and no, he came after me. He came and picked me up at my sister's house by the hair of the head. He threw me in the car, and he locked the doors. We had a little Rambler. And he hit me in the nose. I mean, he basically beat me up, and I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't see. My nose felt like it was broken, but my eyes were watering. And I had dyed my hair in rebellion, I guess. You know, teenage girls, they color their hair, you know, they do I didn't do anything other than that. And I got home, and he beat me up some more. My mother knocked me down and kicked me in the side. And I thought, I've got to get out of here. These people are crazy.
So you knew that what was happening to you was wrong?
Yeah.
But you didn't seem to find help
There was
anywhere that you looked?
No, my dad even had me do a psychological profile with a psychologist friend of his to see if I was okay. And of course, I did what any kid would do. I filled it out just like they would want to hear it. You know, do you love your mother and dad? Well, of course, yeah. No, I didn't. I hated them because, I mean, you don't have the emotional maturity to handle stuff like that when you're a kid.
And also, when you're a victim of abuse, often you cover up and you hide.
Yeah, and I met this, I started talking about it a while ago. I think I got off on something else, but this girlfriend of mine at school, she had a brother, and I got involved with him because I found out all these years later, when you don't have the emotional love and nurturing from your father, a girl figure, you're going to look for it somewhere else. You're going to look for attention, love, and it's always the wrong kind. You know, but anyway, I got mixed up with him, and he turned out to be an alcoholic. He was okay as long as he wasn't drinking. And I ended up getting pregnant, and I graduated from high school, 6 weeks pregnant. And so I ran away. I had run away before that and ran all the way up to Joliet, Illinois, and got caught and got sent. Well, they had to come up there and get me. But this time, we just ran away together because I knew my dad would kill him, and he'd probably kill me too. And we went on the run, and it was probably a year because I gave birth to her January the 1st, 1967 in Nashville, and couldn't tell him her name, or he couldn't put it in the paper. You know, the name's on the birth certificate and everything else, but I lied about my age. I was only 17 because I didn't know if they'd make me produce a marriage license. I was just scared to death. And he was so abusive, I didn't have the clothes I needed. I had shoes. I was still wearing shoes that I had when I was in high school. They had holes in them. It was snowing up there. I had no coat. And one day, he took off because he used to just take off and go drinking, and he'd show back up again. And I'd just be there, and lots of times he'd lock me out, and I didn't have a place to go. And basically homeless. And I sat in a car one day all day long. That's back before everybody locked their cars. And all I had to eat all day long was a Hostess snowball.
It happened that you went from one difficult situation to another abusive situation?
Yeah, I went from the frying pan into the fire. Yeah, I had no reference point as how I was supposed to be treated, and
And self-worth.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's my work. Everything's always been my fault, and to that extent, I still feel that way today. But anyway, after she was born, we came to Memphis for a while. Lived off of Summer Avenue on Pope Street. I never will forget it. And he started being real rough with her. And when she was about 8 months old, I ran him off. He tried to come back, and he tore in on us. He tore the door down. And I got knocked backwards over a laundry hamper. I had gotten a little job by then. And he threw me over bed, and he was literally choking me to death, and I was losing consciousness. And I remember grabbing for anything I could grab and just praying, please God, don't let me die. What's going to happen to my daughter? And I remember hearing her screaming in the crib. I had finally been able to get her a crib. I got it at the Salvation Army store. Had to carry it home on a bus because I didn't have any way of getting it home. But anyway, I hit him as hard as I could, and it got him right here. And he got up and went into the bathroom. And I ran into the other room because just moved in there, and that was back before 911. And if the people that were there before me still had a phone and it was still connected, back then the phone company had to come and disconnect the phone, pick it up. And I called the operator, and they must have been right there in the area because they came right away. And but he'd gone through my purse and got what little money I had. And I remember they told me I had to go to court the next day, and I had to knock on my neighbor's door. It was like a duplex, and borrow a quarter for the bus fare to go downtown to go to court.
But you did?
Yeah, I went, and I had her, I had to hold on to her because I didn't have a baby carriage or anything. She didn't have clothes. It was just the most desolate situation you could be in.
But is this the first time you remember standing up for yourself?
Yeah. And it was because he was hurt. He was starting to hurt her. And I thought, I'm one thing, but no, you're not going to hurt that baby.
You mentioned that you still feel that way about yourself when we were talking about your self-worth.
Yeah.
I want you to realize that you made that decision to keep from what happened to you from happening to your child. And that's an important choice that you made. And you should feel good about that.
Well, I remember God had a big part in that, because I remember being in that roach-infested apartment up there. It was like a tinderbox. If it ever caught on fire, it would have gone up just like that. She didn't even have a baby bed. I had her laying on the couch, and the pillows that came with the couch propped up around her so she wouldn't roll off the couch. And I remember laying on that bed crying, and I said, please God, if you're out there, if you're really out there, please get us out of this situation. I was just absolutely devastated and brokenhearted, and I had brought this child into the world for what, and I said, if that's the only child I'll ever have, so be it, and it was like I made a pact with God, and where I got the word so be it, I have no idea, but she's the only child I could ever have. But I never looked back. I just, if that's what it was, that's fine. The main thing is I got her out of that situation. But I had to run out of the courtroom because they didn't do anything to him. And I was scared to death that he was going to say, well, we're not married, And Bernie Wyman was the judge. And I remember running out of the courtroom with her, and I ran down 2nd Street where I used to work, and I got on the phone, and I called the social worker that I had been working with, and I said, could you please come get my daughter? And I had thought about it before. My dad wanted me to give her up, and I had tried so hard for so long to keep her, and I was a child with a child. I didn't have any resources everywhere. That was back before they had all this help. If there was help, I didn't know about it. Nobody, I couldn't get anybody to talk to me or know what to do or anything. And one time, I had gone home from Nashville when he'd stuck a knife in the door right close to my head. And I had called my parents. That's back when I had run away from home. And I called them to see if they would help. They had changed their phone number. I had to call them through the operator, and I said, please tell them who it is. I said, I'm a runaway. They haven't heard from me in almost a year. Would you please tell them who it is? Well, they came up and got me. But when I got back to my parents' house, after a few days, it was like the writing was on the wall. She's making a mess. You're not going to let her eat that there, are you? And you need to get that stuff up out the floor. I don't want all that stuff laying around. And then they had company pull up in the driveway, and my dad looked at me and he said, take her to the back bedroom. He said, and and make sure she doesn't make any noise. If she does, cover her mouth up. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I thought, I can't stay here. We can't stay here. So I ended up going back with him, and then the last part was what happened next. You know, he almost, I mean, I almost died. And the police came, well, I told you about going to court and everything. And the social worker came and got her in a Volkswagen, and they drove off, and I saw them driving off, and that's the last time I ever saw my daughter again.
And when you think back on that, do you feel like you did something for her?
Yeah, because abortion was never an option for me. I would never have done that. And I didn't have a right to keep her. You know, some people say, oh, I couldn't do that. You don't know what you do till you're in that situation, till you've walked in somebody else's shoes. But I couldn't have done it without God's help, because I was giving her a chance. You know, I finally got some counseling years and years later, and they told me, yeah, you could probably drug her through every welfare line, you know, but I was only making like less than $50 a week, and 25 of that was paying at the WYWCA up on, you know, it's torn down now, the old new light, gas, and water places up there. It's been there for a long time. But I found out when you don't have any choices, when you don't have any options, you can't make any choices. And it took me a lifetime to realize that, because what kind of a mother gives up their daughter, you know? And I thought, you know, I've carried that hole in my heart for forever, but God's filled it. You know, His love for me is what's healed me.
But tell us about the steps that you've made, and you know, how far you've come.
Well, I met and married my late husband in 1969, and he lived not far from me. He lived in Littleton, Tennessee, and he'd been in the Army, and we just, I don't know, it was just, we hit it real, you know, we hit it off. We got married, and we were both still young. I was only 20, he was 21, but we had 30 years together. And I mean, he was a little bit verbally abusive, but compared to what I had been through, it was nothing. But you settle, you know, you kind of settle. But I mean, we had 30 good years. You know, no marriage is perfect, but we did have 30 good years. And he wasn't, we couldn't have any children. And then 10 years after we got married, he was diagnosed with 4th-stage Hodgkin's disease, but he only had 1st-stage symptoms. And it was a battle for 20 years. They cured the cancer, but it was everything that they used on him over the years is what finally got him. But I had an office job, and I kept, when he was first diagnosed, I was, you know, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. You know, you'd be amazed how strong you really are. And I thought, I got to thinking, I thought, well, if he gets to where he can't work, I need to have a job where I can feed us. And I wasn't, he had a good job, but I mean, I wasn't making that much. It was just office work. So I had always wanted to go to nursing school. So I didn't have any college. I messed all those years up. But I heard about LPN school, and I thought I could use that as a stepping stone. So it took me a year to get in, but I went to LPN school.